Hi everybody, I'm Rodney Elmer. I'm an instructor with Vermont Fish and Wildlife, and congratulations, you just got your first deer. The animal's laying here and it's time to field dress it, and what we'd like to do today is have a demonstration of field dressing a deer. This one here is a fallow deer. It's not a whitetail, but that's okay, it serves the same purpose, and pretty much you'll find that gutting out almost any animal is basically the same. The concept's about the same, and that's what we're here to teach. Before you approach a deer, make sure it's dead. When it comes time to grab onto him, you want to make sure he's dead, not get hurt. Usually when I start, I like to have his head a little bit uphill if I can. And I'll also, especially with him, he's riggered up just a little bit. I spread him apart some. And I like to feel right where the breastbone is. And I usually make my first cut just through the hide and on top of the breastbone, so that I'm getting through the hide, but I'm not getting down where I could cut into the paunch. And I'll just real gently just make myself a hole in the hide. Then I'll work my way down and just open the skin up without really going through the muscle layer that holds everything inside. And I'll just work my way towards the rear here. Now that we've got the muscles opened up again, we'll go right just at the end of the bone again one more time and just slowly cut down through and stay right up against the bone and kind of forward until you can stick your finger inside the muscle wall and kind of hold it. Then I'll just push the stomach back a little bit and I'll slowly come forward. Just a small amount at a time, nice and gentle. Be careful of your finger. And just open that up. As you start to open it up, the stomach will start protruding some, just like that. And I want to push that down, and I don't want to make any cuts in this. You can see that there's a little bit of gas in there and stuff, so you want to push that down just a hair and come forward, and things will start opening up. Now I'll continue towards the rear, and we'll go right next to his parts here. Nice and gentle. Just all we're cutting is just the layer of skin and the layer of muscle that holds everything together. And what I like to do is tilt it down some so that everything can slide out, but it'll only go so far. It'll kind of come to a stop. And I'll cut some of this out of the way here so we can see just a little bit better. This is the beginning of his breastbone right there. Okay, once we've rolled it out some, if you stick your hand inside, you'll feel his diaphragm. It's a big layer of muscle that goes right across his chest cavity, and of course it goes in and out and helps him breathe. What we have to do is take the knife and stay just underneath the ribs and just poke a hole through that layer of muscle right there. Now what that does is it allows you to get into the heart and lungs, and all of the blood, the majority of the blood most of the time, is going to be right around his heart and lungs, because when he was dying, he went into shock and all of that blood rushed to save his life inside of his lungs. So there's really not a need to make a cut or try and bleed him out or anything like that. Don't need to do anything like that. All the blood will be gathered right in front of his diaphragm and with his heart and his lungs. Now, basically what I need to do is go all the way forward and reach up into the front part of his chest and grab onto his trachea and his windpipe. Very gently slide the knife up inside there, stay right against the ribs. This is probably the best place to cut yourself, so be the most careful here, and you're actually just kind of feeling your way up in there. As you get inside, you'll feel his heart. It'll be a big stiff ball, and I'll reach ahead of the heart and find his trachea, and I'll try and cut that right off. By cutting that loose, it will allow his lungs and his heart to come forward. I gotta get just ahead a little bit here. it's really quite a feeling. You know, a deer is a lot of good food, but it's also a lot of biology and a lot of beautiful gifts. It's not just one thing of like food, but of course we want to make the best use of it, and we want to work our way forward. Now basically what I'm doing is cutting away everything against the rib cage and then rolling everything out. Here comes his lungs. This is his lungs. And then I'll finish cutting away some of the diaphragm from the back part. And then from the bottom. And I like to dump the blood. Most of the blood will coagulate, and it'll all be in some big chunks in the bottom. Just go ahead and tilt it down some, especially if the deer's head's uphill. That's usually good. It'll help some of it run out. Now I'll finish cutting the diaphragm on the bottom. Nice and gentle. The nicest part is to take your time, to go nice and easy and slowly work it forward. Now as we get the paunch out and we get his liver and everything else kind of work forward, there'll be a lot of fat mixed in with it too. Basically what we've done is we've gotten everything out, but it's all still connected. As we start going towards the rear here, I like to reach inside, and myself, especially with the buck, I'll just make sure that his penis is laying off to the side, and I'll squeeze his bladder nice and gently, and all the urine will run right out of it. Then it won't be inside the chest cavity. If you were to cut with your knife or anything and you were worried about cutting into it, that could be a problem. But if we squeeze it out and all the urine runs out of it, now there's really no urine to get on anything. So that's nice, especially in the field if it's like snowy conditions or real warm like today. That can be an issue. Always keep track of your knife. Pretty easy to lose it. I'm pretty good at that. Now, we still have the intestines still connected all the way through. What I like to do, and this can vary for different people, but I'll reach up inside the pelvis here, and I'll grab onto it, and I'll pull some of the pellets that are inside that tube. I like to slide them back into the guts here, and then cut off that tube right in the very rear. Then everything can slide completely loose. And what I've done is I've protected the steaks and all of the meat in the very back here. If I cut it completely open and I go right to the rear and I take all of that out, that will now be dried out and it'll be exposed to meat and stuff. So I myself like to make sure that that's covered up, at least while I'm dragging it and getting it out of the woods. The second I get home, I'll finish cutting that, and I'll cut around the hind end and then pull all that right out, and it'll be good to go. Yep. Now there'll be quite a pool of blood in the bottom of the chest, so I usually dump that out and then pull the deer back away from all of it so that I'm not getting blood all over everything. Blood is quite a bit. And now we've kept him nice and clean. He still looks good, and when the general public sees him, it'll look a lot nicer. And there you have it. That's basically what I like to do. There's variations to it, of course, with everybody, and everybody does things a whisker different. But the main thing is to cut the diaphragm, cut off the tubes in the front, slide the whole thing out, and then disconnect the rear, and then everything's out. I carry a Ziploc bag in my pocket, and I'll usually take the heart and the liver. The liver is pretty fair size. I'll take the liver and put that into a Ziploc bag, and then also the heart, which is up in the front there, with the lungs, the heart has like a sac around it, and I'll cut that sac and then take the heart right out and keep that, and that'll go home with me, and that's a pretty good meal right there. Let's see if we can get it loose here. And then you can see the sac that's in, and it comes right off, and you have a nice, clean, beautiful heart all ready to go. Let me slide this off. I'll grab my bag. We'll take that with us. Come on, girl. And then we can take the two of those home with us. We're good to go. That's pretty much all there is to it.